How much longer are you going to wait? No, really. Ask yourself, how much longer will you keep putting your life on hold? How many more days, months, or years will you keep telling yourself not yet? While time just keeps moving, somewhere deep inside you feel it. That quiet discomfort, that restlessness, the sense that you're meant for something more, and yet here you are, stuck between who you are and who you could be, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for clarity, waiting until you feel ready. But what if that moment never comes? The truth is, waiting has a cost, a heavy one, and you don't feel it all at once. You feel it in the small things, the goals that stay dreams, the plans that never take off, the quiet regret that creeps in when the lights go out and the world goes silent. It's the dull ache in your chest when you realize you've lived another day, but not the one you actually wanted. And yet, we tell ourselves stories. We say, I'll start when I'm more confident, when the timing is right, when I've figured everything out. But confidence doesn't come from waiting. It comes from moving. The timing doesn't become perfect. You make it perfect by what you do with it. And clarity, that only shows up after you take the first step, not before. If you're listening to this, it's not by accident. You were meant to hear this. You were meant to remember what you've buried under fear and excuses. That you are capable of more. That the life you imagine is not a fantasy. It's a possibility. One that's waiting on you. But here's the truth most people won't say out loud. Life isn't going to wait for you. Opportunities will come and go. Doors will open and close. The version of you that's still possible, they won't wait around forever. Every moment you hesitate, every time you say later, you're handing another piece of your potential over to fear. But what if today was different? What if you decided this was it? No more overthinking, no more delaying, no more choosing comfort over courage. Because here's the reward for those who choose to act. Freedom, growth, power, a life that doesn't just happen to you, but one that's built by you. You start showing up differently. You speak with more purpose. You stop chasing things that don't matter and start becoming someone who does. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's hard. But so is staying stuck. So is waking up in 5 years wondering why nothing changed. You can't escape the difficulty, but you can choose which kind of pain you live with, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. This moment you're in right now, it's the turning point, the choice that separates the dreamers from the doers. And you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start with one decision, one action, one refusal to waste another minute of your life waiting for permission. So, how much longer are you going to wait? Because your life won't change until you do. Time isn't just passing, it's disappearing. Every second you hesitate is a second you never get back. That's the part we don't like to face. We act like time is endless, like we've got years to waste. But the truth? Most people run out of time before they run out of dreams. Not because they couldn't do it, but because they waited too long to try. You've already seen how fast the days slip by. One moment it's Monday and suddenly it's another year gone, another birthday, another chance missed. You said you'd start last week, then last month. Now you're watching the calendar eat away your potential while you tell yourself, I'm still figuring things out. But while you figure it out, life moves on. Opportunities move on. And if you're not careful, you move on too, drifting further away from the fire that once lit you up inside. No one ever plans to waste their life, it just happens. One small delay at a time, one excuse, one distraction. One more day of doing what's easy instead of what's necessary. Until one day, you look in the mirror and barely recognize the person staring back. This is the weight that silence carries, the silent cost of not choosing, the erosion of passion beneath the routine. And it's dangerous, because the more you wait, the more comfortable you become with waiting. The more you tolerate the life you don't want, the more normal it starts to feel. And that's how dreams die, not with a crash, but with a whisper. But it doesn't have to be that way. Because here's what most people forget. Time is brutal, yes, but it's also powerful. When you respect it, when you use it, when you stop letting it pass and start bending it in your favor, you can build something real in a year. You can change your entire life in 6 months. But it starts by honoring the moment you're in right now. Not tomorrow, not when it's easy. Now, this moment is the only one guaranteed. Not the next one, not next year, just this. And what you do with it is the difference between progress and regret. You don't need more time. You need more intention. You don't need the perfect day to begin. You just need the courage to stop wasting the one you've got. Think about this. If you fully committed today, if you truly showed up for your goals, your growth, your purpose, Where would you be in a week? In a month? In a year? What could you build if you stopped handing away your minutes to mindless habits and instead used them with fierce clarity? That's the reward most people never taste, the power of consistency. The transformation that happens when you stop waiting and start showing up every day. Even when it's hard, even when it's uncertain. Because progress doesn't always feel like magic. It often feels like repetition, sacrifice, and showing up when you don't feel like it. But that's the price of freedom. That's the price of becoming the person you were always meant to be. And make no mistake, every day you delay is a decision, a silent one. One that says, I'll accept a little less. I'll settle for almost. I'll wait for permission. But you don't need permission. You need permission to stop waiting. So take it, own it. Time is watching, life is listening. And the clock will keep ticking whether you move or not. But imagine how it would feel to finally outrun the hesitation, to stop being the person who almost changed their life and start being the one who did. This is your shot. The hourglass doesn't pause. But right now it hasn't run out, so don't just exist. Start living like time matters, because it does. The real weight isn't in how much time you've lost, it's in how much more you'll lose if you keep standing still. Because while you wait, life doesn't pause to catch you up. It keeps moving forward, and the painful truth is, if you don't move with it, you get left behind. Not by people, not by the world, but by the version of yourself you were supposed to become. You can feel that gap, can't you? That space between where you are and where you could be. It's heavy. It lingers in the quiet moments. It whispers when you're alone. It's the tension that never fully disappears, because deep down, you know you're meant for more. You weren't born to repeat the same day over and over again. You weren't built to bury your potential under fear, routine, and distractions that numb you instead of elevate you. That restless energy inside of you, that's not anxiety. That's misdirected purpose. That's potential asking to be used. You've got a fire in you that's been waiting far too long to be unleashed. But fire doesn't grow in silence. It needs action. It needs air. It needs you to stop feeding it excuses and start fueling it with decisions. Decisions that hurt in the moment but heal over time. Decisions that pull you out of comfort and into growth. Because growth doesn't feel good at first. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. It demands more of you than you think you can give. But what's the alternative? A life that's fine? A future that looks exactly like the past? That's not living, that's surviving. And you weren't made to survive. You were made to rise. To lead. To become the person your younger self prayed you'd grow into. To become the one your future self will thank for finally taking control. Stop believing the lie that you need more time to begin. You don't. You need more truth. The truth that you've waited long enough, that you're not behind, you're just one decision away. One breakthrough, one bold move. That's how fast things can change when you stop negotiating with fear, because fear has one job, to keep you where you are, and it's really good at it. It disguises itself as logic. It whispers, be realistic. It warns you of failure, judgment, discomfort. But what it doesn't tell you is what you lose by listening to it. The life you never build, the strength you never discover, the goals that die inside your imagination. But every time you choose courage over comfort, fear gets weaker. Every time you take one step forward, even if you're shaking, you begin to reclaim your power. Because confidence doesn't show up first. It's built after you take the leap. You don't need to know everything to start. You just need to know this. Staying where you are will cost more than trying and failing ever will. Trying means you're alive. It means you're fighting. It means you're no longer settling for a version of life that doesn't reflect the fire inside of you. That fire, it's waiting, but it won't wait forever. If you let it die, regret will replace it. And regret is a brutal thing. It haunts. It doesn't scream. It whispers in the silence. It shows up when you're too tired to run from it. And it always starts with the same question. Why didn't I start? Don't let that be your story. Don't become someone who looks back and wonders what could have been. You have breath in your lungs. You have power in your hands. You still have time, just not to waste. So stand up. Decide. Move. Even if it's small. Even if it's messy. Progress is always louder than perfection. And the only way to build the life you want is to start. Exactly where you are with exactly what you've got. Nothing changes until you do. And the second you stop waiting, the second you take control, life begins to respond. Because the moment you commit fully, everything around you starts to shift. Opportunities open, strength builds, momentum takes over, and the person you've always wanted to be, they stop feeling like a dream and start looking back at you in the mirror You weren't put here to play small. You weren't designed to live a life defined by hesitation, fear, or doubt. Somewhere along the way, the world tried to convince you to shrink, to stay quiet, to stay safe, to follow the rules and not ask for too much. But you were never meant to fit into a box. You were built to break limits, to rise beyond your circumstances, to rewrite every story that told you what you could or couldn't be. And that begins the moment you stop waiting and start becoming. Becoming doesn't happen overnight. It's not a switch. It's a fire, and it's lit every time you choose action over avoidance. Every time you take a deep breath and say, I'm doing this even if I'm afraid, because fear is natural. But obedience to fear is a choice. And every time you obey it, you hand over your future. Every time you bow to doubt, you bury a part of your power. There is no perfect time to start. There's only now. This moment, this exact breath, is the opening you've been looking for, the gateway between who you are and who you're meant to become. The question is, will you step through it? Most people don't. Not because they're weak, but because they believe the lie that says they're not ready. But readiness isn't a feeling. It's a decision. You don't wait until you feel ready. You decide you're ready, and the courage follows. That's the difference between those who change and those who stay the same. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not who they know or where they started. It's the moment they stopped stalling and said, this is it. I'm done waiting. I'm done doubting. I'm done living a life that doesn't reflect my worth. Your breakthrough doesn't live in the future. It lives in what you do with today. Every moment of delay is another moment you could be building, learning, growing, evolving. But every step forward, no matter how small, creates motion. And motion builds momentum. And momentum, that's when everything changes. Because once you begin, the resistance starts to break. The fear starts to fade. And the vision that once felt so far away, it begins to feel possible, real, within reach. But here's the truth. You'll never see that version of yourself if you keep waiting to feel ready. You have to earn the vision through the work, through the discomfort, through the stretch that pulls you beyond what you thought you could handle. That's where transformation lives, in the tension, in the resistance, in the challenge that tries to push you back into your old self. But the old you isn't in charge anymore. Not if you make the choice, not if you refuse to hand over one more day to fear, laziness, or doubt. This is your edge. And edges are uncomfortable for a reason. They separate the dreamers from the doers. They test how bad you really want it. And right now the test isn't about how fast you go. It's about whether you'll move at all, whether you'll rise when every part of you wants to retreat, whether you'll fight for the life you say you want. You don't have to get it perfect. You don't have to impress anyone. You just have to begin. With urgency, with intention, with a fire that says, I will not waste another moment living beneath my potential. Because if you don't claim your life, someone else will shape it for you. If you don't choose your direction, you'll drift into theirs. And if you don't rise now, the moment will pass and it won't wait. So the question isn't whether you're ready. The question is whether you're willing. Willing to let go of your excuses. Willing to push past the discomfort. Willing to become someone who follows through, not just someone who dreams. You've waited long enough. The door's open. The fire's still burning. But it's up to you to step through and feed it. Willing is where everything changes. Because the moment you become willing, you unlock a power most people never tap into. The power to choose your response to life no matter the circumstances. Not just when it's easy. Not just when it feels good. But especially when it's hard. Especially when everything in you wants to stop. That's when the real work begins. That's when your future is forged. Most people think success is about talent, or timing, or luck. It's not. It's about decisions, daily decisions, quiet ones, invisible ones, the kind no one sees but you, like choosing discipline over distraction, choosing growth over comfort, choosing to keep moving even when nothing around you is telling you it's working yet. You don't need a guarantee. You need grit. You don't need someone to give you permission. You need to realize you've always had it. Everything you need is already within you. You just haven't demanded it from yourself yet. You've been hoping, wishing, thinking, but not deciding, not fully, not with the kind of commitment that says no matter what I will rise. That's what changes your life. Not the perfect plan, not more motivation. It's the decision to keep showing up when you feel like quitting. It's the internal shift that happens when you stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I never try? That question should shake you. Because failure isn't the enemy, regret is. Failure builds you, regret breaks you, and the difference between the two is always action. You can fail and still win. You can fall and still rise. You can get it wrong and still make progress. But you can't stay still and grow. You can't sit in fear and expect strength to show up. You become strong by moving through what scares you. You build power by pushing through what tries to hold you back. Every obstacle is a test. Every delay is a question. Will you keep going? And how you answer determines everything. You weren't meant to coast through life. You were meant to conquer it. Not by force, but by discipline. By choosing purpose over pleasure. By trading comfort for clarity. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. You learn who you are when you move. You find your strength when you struggle. And make no mistake, you will struggle. But struggle is not failure. Struggle is the price you pay for becoming someone greater than you were yesterday. And the more you lean into it, the more unshakable you become. Every time you push past the urge to quit, you rise. Every time you keep your promise to yourself, you build trust. And every time you take one more step, especially when you don't feel like it, you separate yourself from the crowd. Because most people stop when it hurts. Most people fold when it gets hard. Most people wait for life to make it easier. But not you, because you've already waited long enough. You've already seen what hesitation costs, and now you've made the choice, not to try, but to become. Fully, fearlessly, finally. You're not chasing motivation anymore. You're building momentum. You're not just interested in change, you're committed to it. And that commitment, even if no one sees it yet, is more powerful than anything standing in your way. It's time to live like it. Time to stop explaining your dreams and start executing them. Time to stop asking for direction and start creating your own path. You weren't made to fit in. You were made to lead, to stand up, to show the world what it looks like when someone stops waiting and starts living with fire. You are the spark, and you don't need a perfect plan. You just need to move and refuse to stop. You don't get stronger by thinking about the life you want. You get stronger by stepping into it before it makes sense, by acting before you feel ready, by refusing to let fear define the boundaries of your existence. The life you dream of doesn't wait for perfect timing. It waits for relentless effort, for someone who finally says enough, enough pretending you're okay with less, enough staying small to make others comfortable, enough walking around with power in your chest and doubt in your voice. That's not who you are. You were born with a calling, a fire, a reason, and deep down you've always known it. So why keep living like you don't? You don't need to see the entire path to take the first step. You just need the courage to move forward, even when the road is dark, even when no one else sees what you see. The ones who make it are never the ones who waited. They're the ones who moved when it was hard, who believed when it was silent, who kept going when every reason to stop felt justified. But they didn't take the easy way out. And that's who you are now. Not someone waiting for the right time, but someone who creates it. Someone who wakes up and decides, this is the day everything starts to change. Not because life suddenly became easier, but because you became unshakable. There will be distractions. Doubt will show up wearing different faces. Comparison, procrastination, perfectionism. It will tell you to wait until you're more prepared, more experienced, more qualified. But you don't beat doubt by arguing with it. You beat it by taking action it can't deny. Action rewrites the story. It tells your mind we're not trapped, we're building. It replaces panic with progress, fear with focus. Every moment you move forward, no matter how small, you weaken the grip of the lie that says, you're not enough, you are enough. Not because you've already proven it, but because you're willing to, and the world doesn't need another person hiding behind potential. It needs someone bold enough to turn it into reality. You've been given this moment. Right now, breath in your lungs. A mind that can think, a body that can move, a spirit that refuses to quit. That's not chance. That's a signal. A reminder that as long as you're here, it's not too late. Not too late to rebuild. Not too late to rise. Not too late to become everything they said you couldn't. But it starts with ownership. Own your story. Own your time. Own your choices. Don't hand your future over to excuses. Don't let your past become a prison. What happened to you isn't who you are. What you've been through doesn't define what you can create. Every wound is proof you survived. Every scar is proof you healed. And every day you wake up and try again is proof that you are still fighting for the life you haven't given up on. And that fight, that's what separates the forgotten from the unforgettable. It's not fame, not followers, not luck. It's the grit to keep rising long after the motivation is gone. The hunger to push through the silence when no one's clapping. The fire to demand more from yourself, not because it's easy, but because you're worth the effort. This is your time, not tomorrow, not someday, now. And no, you won't get everything right, but that's not the goal. The goal is to move, to build, to rise. Because even your worst attempt is better than your best excuse. Even your slowest progress will outrun the version of you who keeps waiting for the stars to align. The stars don't decide your future. You do. So don't just listen to this. Live it. Get up, get clear, get honest. You've waited long enough. Now it's time to become the person you were always meant to be. Relentless. Unstoppable. Ready. Being ready doesn't mean you'll feel confident. It means you've chosen to stop waiting for permission. It means you finally understood that clarity doesn't come first, action does. Waiting for confidence is the trap. You build confidence by doing the thing while you're still unsure, while your voice shakes, while your heart races. That's how it grows. By being tested in the real world, not by sitting in silence waiting for the perfect moment. You don't overcome fear by thinking harder. You overcome it by moving anyway. By taking the first step, even when everything in you is screaming to turn around. Because every time you walk through fear, it shrinks. Every time you confront the voice that says you can't, you prove to yourself that you can. The walls you think are holding you in, most of them only exist in your mind. Tear one down, and you'll see they were never real. They were built by doubt and fed by hesitation. But not anymore. You've made the choice to stop feeding fear and start fueling fire. The fire to rise, to build, to become more. Not for anyone else's approval, not for applause. But because deep inside you know you've barely scratched the surface of who you're meant to be. There's another level to you, one that's more focused, more disciplined, more fearless, and that version isn't waiting for life to make things easier. They're ready to do it anyway. People will underestimate you, life will test you. But your power doesn't come from what they see, it comes from what you do when no one's watching. Every early morning you push through, every late night you stay committed, every moment you choose growth over comfort. Those are the things that build your edge, the habits that shape your strength, the discipline that separates the average from the exceptional. And discipline isn't a punishment, it's a gift. It's proof that you respect yourself enough to do what's required even when you don't feel like it. That's how transformation happens, not by chasing hype, but by living in integrity, by doing what you said you'd do long after the mood has passed. That's real power, that's real freedom. Because once you take full ownership of your time, your energy, your focus, no one can take that from you. You stop waiting to be chosen and realize you've been in charge all along. You stop chasing motivation and start creating momentum. You stop living for comfort and start living for purpose. And purpose isn't found in convenience. It's found in the moments that demand more from you than you thought you had. It's found in the days when quitting feels easier, but you choose to stay in the fight. That's where identity is forged. That's where greatness is born. Not in ease, but in effort. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be willing. Willing to show up. Willing to push through. Willing to become the kind of person who no longer breaks at the first sign of resistance. Because resistance isn't the end. It's the signal that you're getting stronger. If it's heavy, that means you're building. If it's uncomfortable, that means you're stretching. If it scares you, it probably matters. So lean into it. Don't run. Don't shrink. Don't wait. The version of you that's waiting on the other side of all this pressure, they're not fragile. They're forged. This is the season of doing hard things. The season of digging deeper, showing up earlier, staying later, and proving to yourself that the limits you believed in were lies. They were illusions designed to keep you comfortable. But comfort never changed a life. Comfort never turned a dream into reality. You want change? Then you need to change. And that starts with how you think, with what you tolerate, with what you allow to live inside your mind. You can't keep feeding excuses and expecting results. You can't keep doubting your ability and expecting strength to show up. You have to decide, not once, every day. Decide who you want to be, decide what you're no longer available for. Decide that this time you won't go back, because there's no power in almost, no reward in kind of trying. You're either all in or you're out. This is your moment to go all in. Not for a day, not for a week, for as long as it takes. Because when the standard is no longer optional, results become inevitable. And that's what you came here for. Not to play the game halfway, not to let life pass by while you think about trying. You came here to win. So own it, all of it. The pain, the grind, the stretch, the growth. Own the process. Because the process is what shapes the warrior. And the world doesn't need more people who quit when it's hard. It needs people who rise when it matters most. Be that person. Be unshakable. If you want to become unshakable, you have to stop negotiating with weakness. Stop giving your feelings more power than your purpose. The truth is, you won't always feel like it. You won't always be motivated. But motivation isn't the foundation, discipline is. And discipline is a choice, not a mood. It's doing what's necessary when it's hard, boring, inconvenient, uncomfortable, especially then. Because that's when most people break. That's when they turn back, when the pressure rises, and the rewards don't show up yet. But that's exactly where transformation begins. When your excuses get loud but you keep showing up. When your fears flare up, but you don't slow down. That's what separates you. That's what proves you're serious, not your words, not your intentions, your follow-through. Everyone wants the outcome. Few are willing to live the process. But that's where the real warriors are born, in the trenches, not the spotlight. In the silence, not the applause. And you've been handed a decision every single day: remain the same or evolve. Every time you wake up, that question is waiting for you. Not in your planner, not on your phone, in your mind. And if you don't choose, life chooses for you. The standard you set becomes the life you live. If you tolerate low effort, you get low results. If you delay your goals, you delay your growth. If you keep postponing your own power, you'll keep living beneath your potential. But you were never built for average. That's why it haunts you. That's why it feels heavy to settle. Your soul knows there's more, and it's not going to stay quiet until you become it. So raise a standard. Set it higher than your fear, higher than your circumstances, higher than your past. Stop living like you're a victim of your situation, and start living like the creator of your future, because that's who you are. You're not here to make excuses. You're here to make progress. You're not here to talk about what you want. You're here to build it. And building doesn't mean it'll be perfect. It means it'll be real, messy, uncertain, challenging, but worth it. The progress you seek lives on the other side of effort most people aren't willing to give. That's why you must outwork them, outlast them, outfocus them. Not because you need to prove something to the world, but because you owe it to yourself to see what happens when you don't quit. There's a different kind of power that's born when you refuse to fold. When you take your pain and turn it into power. When you turn your failures into lessons. When you let go of everything that isn't serving the life you're creating. You stop carrying dead weight. You stop entertaining weak thoughts. You stop negotiating with mediocrity. And you rise. This is your edge. This is the switch that flips you from dreamer to doer. From hesitant to unstoppable. From I hope to I will. Because once you start showing up with that kind of energy, everything shifts. Your decisions get sharper. Your focus gets stronger. Your presence becomes undeniable. Not because the world gave you a shortcut, but because you earned your power. No more waiting, no more watching, no more hoping someone saves you from yourself. You are the answer. You are the key. And the moment you realize that is the moment everything accelerates. Because now you're no longer distracted. You're dangerous, focused, driven, awake. You know what it takes. You've seen what waiting costs. And now you're choosing to act, to live, to commit like your life depends on it, because it does. Not just your survival, but your becoming. Because this life isn't about existing. It's about evolving. And that requires your full presence, your full force, your full decision. You don't get here by accident, you get here by choice. And now that you've chosen, there is no going back. There is only through. Through the discomfort, through the resistance, through the unknown. Because what's on the other side isn't just success, it's the real you. The version that doesn't break when life tests you. The one that leads, the one that rises. The one that refuses to let anything stop what's already in motion. So take that next breath, plant your feet, lock your focus, and move forward with the kind of conviction that dares the world to try and stop you. This is your moment. This is your fire. Burn for it. You've already felt the spark. Now it's time to fuel the fire. Because dreams without action are just illusions. You weren't made to carry illusions. You were made to build reality. You were made to shake the ground with your presence. To walk into every room with the weight of purpose. Not arrogance, alignment. Alignment with who you truly are and who you're becoming every single time you say, I'm not stopping. There's a version of you that refuses to be average, that doesn't settle, that doesn't make room for fear to dictate the future. That version isn't buried deep. It's already alive. It's the part of you that keeps whispering, this isn't enough, you were made for more. And that whisper is not doubt, it's destiny calling. But it won't wait forever. You either answer the call, or you miss the chance. Most people miss it. They get caught in routines that numb them. They drown in distraction. They wait for the right mood, the right moment, the right words. But those who rise don't wait. They create. They create the feeling. They create the energy. They create the opportunity by refusing to sit still. Because movement breeds clarity. Action breeds confidence. And faith without works is dead. Stop expecting success to knock politely. It won't. It's not coming with balloons and an invitation. It's forged in the unseen hours. In the times you keep showing up when no one claps. In the moments you work in silence while others waste time seeking validation. You don't need permission. You don't need reassurance. You need to trust yourself enough to do the work even when it feels invisible. There is no growth without pressure. No breakthrough without resistance. So if it feels hard, good. It means you're in the right place. That discomfort, that's the gap between who you are and who you're becoming. That pain, that's the process of leaving behind what no longer serves you. And that fear, it's only there because your next level is close. You don't fear what's impossible. You fear what's within reach. So lean in. Push harder. Focus deeper. You've played it safe long enough. You've coasted on potential for too many seasons. And the truth is, potential means nothing without action. Talent doesn't separate you, discipline does. And discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent when most people give up. It's about building your identity on what you do, not what you feel. Every time you show up tired but give your best, that's identity. Every time you keep your word to yourself, that's character. Every time you do the hard thing instead of the easy excuse, that's leadership. And leadership starts with you, leading your mind, leading your habits, leading your future with fierce intention. You weren't built to blend in. You were built to stand out. But standing out requires standing up for yourself, your goals, your truth. It requires saying no to the old version of you. The one who stayed quiet, played small, hesitated when it was time to move. That version had its time. But now you rise. Not just for the life you want, but for the standard you represent. Because when you change, everything connected to you starts to change. Your environment, your relationships, your results, they all start to align with the new energy you bring. And it's not magic. It's not luck. It's cause and effect. You shift inside, and life shifts outside. You don't need a miracle. You need relentless intention. You need to decide, really decide that this is your time, not when it feels good, not when it's convenient. Now, because the clock doesn't pause for you to get ready. Life is happening. Whether you move or not, time keeps ticking. So the question is simple. Are you going to keep watching the clock, or are you going to own it? Everything you've survived up until this point has prepared you. Every setback, every delay, every failure. Not one moment was wasted if you choose to use it. Turn the pain into fuel. Turn the frustration into focus. Turn the waiting into work. That's how you take control. That's how you stop being a victim of your story and start becoming the author of it. This is not about hype. This is not about motivation that fades by morning. This is about a decision that rewires your entire path. You are no longer available for average. You are no longer aligned with delay. You are no longer stuck in the loop of almost. You are ready, and ready doesn't mean you have no fear. It means you're moving anyway. This is your new identity, focused, disciplined, relentless. You don't stop when it's hard. You start there. That's where greatness is built in the friction, in the fatigue, in the fire. And when that fire burns long enough, you become untouchable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. So go. Move, build, not someday, today, not when you're comfortable, now. Your time isn't coming. Your time is here. Grab it, live it, own it. And never let it go. The most dangerous thing you can do is wait for the perfect moment, because perfection is a trap. It paralyzes potential. It convinces you that preparation is more important than execution. But here's the truth, they're watching you wait. The world doesn't slow down while you overthink. Time doesn't pause while you plan. Every second you hesitate is a second of progress lost. And deep down, you already know this. That's why there's a tension in your chest. That's why you feel restless. It's not anxiety. It's urgency. It's your future demanding your attention. The life you want is being held hostage by your delay. Every goal you've dreamed of, every breakthrough you've imagined is waiting on one thing, your decision. Not your wish, not your intention. Your decision. A real decision is final. It doesn't entertain second thoughts. It doesn't negotiate with distractions. It draws a line and says, this is who I am now. And when you live like that, the world starts to move around your conviction. Not because it's easy, but because you've become unignorable. When your actions match your ambition, the universe takes notice. But most people never reach that point. They stay stuck in cycles, starting, stopping, doubting, delaying. They sabotage their own rise because they fear what might happen if they actually become powerful. But you're not here to repeat cycles. You're here to break them. And that begins when you stop asking for clarity and start demanding progress. Clarity comes through movement. You don't find your path by standing still. You discover it step by step, decision by decision, effort by effort. You build momentum by doing, not waiting. And the moment you lean into the unknown with purpose, everything starts to shift. Not all at once. Not with guarantees, but with quiet, powerful progress that compounds with every bold move you make. Stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I never try? Because failure isn't the enemy, inaction is. Regret is heavier than any risk you'll ever take. And if you want to feel alive, you've got to stretch beyond comfort. You've got to outgrow your excuses. You've got to show yourself what happens when you don't back down. You weren't born to play small. That's why you feel the fire inside every time you imagine a life that stretches beyond your current reality. That fire is your reminder. It's not random. It's your internal compass. But if you ignore it long enough, it'll burn in the wrong direction. It'll turn into frustration, self-doubt, bitterness. Don't let your potential become your prison. Let it become your path. You owe it to yourself to find out what happens when you go all in. Not halfway, not when it's easy, but fully, relentlessly, consistently, because nothing extraordinary happens by accident. It's built through thousands of moments where you choose discipline over distraction, hunger over hesitation, purpose over pleasure. And those moments define you more than talent ever could. Don't envy those who have made it. Study their discipline. Don't admire from a distance. Use that feeling to fuel your own rise. Greatness isn't gifted. It's earned. Earned through sweat, through sacrifice, through silent nights where no one sees the grind but you keep going anyway. That's what separates the talkers from the doers, the dreamers from the builders. Right now, you're standing at a threshold, and behind you is everything familiar, everything safe, everything that kept you comfortable but small. In front of you is everything unknown, everything demanding, everything great. You don't cross that line by wishing. You cross it by moving, by declaring that who you were yesterday is not enough for who you want to become tomorrow. This is where your rise begins. When you stop waiting, when you stop needing permission, when you start acting like your future is non-negotiable. Because it is. This isn't about hype. This is about urgency. There is no more time to waste. You've waited long enough. Now it's time to demand more from yourself, to elevate your standard, to become the person your vision requires, and that version of you, it's already within you. It's just waiting to be activated by your decisions. Not someday, today. Not when you're ready. Now. You don't need another sign. You don't need more time. You need to move, to act, to become. Because the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the moment you finally decide you're done waiting. No more hesitation, no more delay, no more wasted potential. This is your time to step forward, stand tall, and let the world feel the weight of your commitment. You're not just chasing success, you're embodying it. Every thought, every step, every choice. And when you do that, when your life becomes a reflection of your decision to never wait again, nothing can stop you. So go, with all your energy, with all your heart, with all your power. The moment is now, and you are ready. There's a shift that happens the moment you stop making excuses and start making decisions. Real, solid, no turning back decisions. That shift doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. It rewires your identity. It strips away the habits of hesitation and replaces them with hunger. It silences the voice of doubt and amplifies the voice of purpose. And in that moment you realize something powerful. You were never waiting on the world. The world was waiting on you. You were waiting on courage, but courage comes from doing, not thinking. You were waiting on motivation, but motivation comes from momentum. You were waiting on confidence, but confidence is built in the trenches of discomfort. It's not gifted. It's earned. Through showing up. Through standing tall when you feel weak. Through pushing when everything in you says pause. And each time you do, you collect evidence that you're capable, that you're ready, that you're built for more. But if you don't start, you'll never see what's possible. And deep down, you already know this. That's why comfort feels so uncomfortable now. That's why playing small feels like suffocation. You were not created to shrink. You were created to rise. You were built to lead, to impact, to become the person your future can depend on. But none of that happens unless you break the cycle of waiting. You've been trained to believe you need everything lined up before you begin. But the truth is, growth starts in chaos. Mastery begins in mess. Greatness is born in the middle of pressure, uncertainty, and risk. If you only move when it's easy, you'll only live in the shallow end of your potential. But if you're willing to move when it's hard, when your hands are shaking, when your mind is spinning, that's when the real you shows up. The real you doesn't wait for permission. The real you doesn't second-guess your power. The real you walks through fear like it's smoke, visible, yes, but empty. Because fear only has power when you pause. But the moment you push, fear folds. Resistance breaks, and what looked like a wall was just a veil. Your breakthrough was always right there, behind your next act of courage. This isn't about talent. This isn't about luck. It's about decision. It's about choosing to become the kind of person who does what needs to be done, no matter how they feel. And when you operate like that, when you stop asking if and start declaring when, you become unstoppable. Because the most dangerous person is the one who has decided. Not the one who's perfect. Not the one who's fearless. But the one who is done with excuses. So the question isn't, can you do it? The question is, will you? Will you show up when it's inconvenient? Will you stay focused when no one's clapping? Will you train, sacrifice, persist when no one's watching? Because that's what separates the dreamers from the doers, the ones who wait from the ones who win. You don't need more time, you need more truth. The truth that you've waited long enough, the truth that playing safe is no longer an option, the truth that you're not here to coast, you're here to climb. And yes, the climb will test you. It will stretch you, but it will also forge you. It will carve out a strength you didn't know you had. And that strength becomes your armor. That strength becomes your story. People will notice the shift. They'll feel the energy. They won't always understand it, but they'll respect it. Because when someone starts moving with purpose, it's undeniable. When someone starts acting like their future matters, it's magnetic. And that's what you are now, magnetic, drawn to vision, pulled by purpose, fueled by a fire that can't be put out. That fire is the beginning. But now you have to fan the flame, with action, with focus, with every small step that says, I'm not who I was, I'm not staying here. I'm building something bigger, bigger than doubt, bigger than fear, bigger than the opinions of those who gave up on themselves. Because this isn't just about proving them wrong, it's about proving yourself right. Proving that the dreams weren't random, that the vision wasn't a fantasy, that what you felt all along, that there's more inside you, is real, and it's waiting on you to bring it to life. Not next year, not someday, now. So rise, not later, not when it's perfect. Rise now, because the version of you who waits is gone. And the version who leads? That version is already moving, already building, already becoming. And once you step into that version fully, with everything you've got, there is no turning back, only forward, only fire, only freedom. There's a level of power inside you that you haven't even touched yet, because you've been too focused on surviving when you were meant to dominate. You were never designed to tiptoe through life, keeping quiet, playing safe, or dimming your fire to make others comfortable. You were built to stand tall, to move with boldness, to set a new standard, not just for yourself, but for everyone who sees you rise. That's not arrogance, that's responsibility, because someone out there is watching your every move, waiting to see if you're going to step into the strength you keep hiding. And the longer you delay, the louder the voice of doubt becomes. Not because it's true, but because it's the only voice you're feeding. Or silence the noise with action. Starve the fear with discipline. Drown the doubt with effort. When you do what others avoid, you gain what others never will. Because greatness isn't about doing what's easy. It's about doing what's necessary, especially when no one believes in you, especially when the odds look impossible, especially when the voices in your head say you can't. That's the moment you look them in the eye and say, watch me. Too many people wait for support before they start. They wait for applause before they act. But leaders go first. Builders go first. Warriors go first. Not because it's comfortable, but because purpose leaves no other choice. When you feel that deep pull to do something greater, it's not a coincidence. It's a calling. And it's time you started answering it with the urgency it deserves. You don't get this moment again. Every day that passes is a day you'll never get back. And no matter how much time you think you have, the truth is, most people run out of time before they ever run out of dreams. Don't be one of them. Don't let your potential become your tombstone. Let it become your testimony. The proof that you didn't just exist, you lived. That you didn't just talk, you transformed. But transformation demands sacrifice. It demands that you leave behind the version of you that's addicted to comfort, that you kill the habit of hesitating, that you burn the blueprint of someday and start building with what you have right now. Because no one's coming to push you. No one's coming to beg you to start. And they shouldn't have to. You've already waited long enough. This is about becoming undeniable. About walking into every room like your presence is the answer to the question. About working like someone who refuses to settle for mediocrity, not because you're better than anyone else, but because you finally realize you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break through. And breakthrough only comes when you stop flirting with effort and start committing with everything in you. No more halfway, or no more dipping your toe into potential. It's time to dive headfirst into discipline, into intensity, into obsession, not with perfection, but with progress. That's what changes everything. Not talent, not opportunity, just raw, relentless consistency. You have to become dangerous to your doubt, ruthless with your time, obsessive about your standards, because the future belongs to the ones who demand more from themselves than anyone else ever could, the ones who wake up every day with one question on their mind. How far can I go before the world notices it can't ignore me anymore? And when you start living like that, you don't need to chase validation. It chases you. Success finds those who refuse to hide, who refuse to quit, who refuse to shrink themselves to fit inside the box the world built for them. You weren't made for the box. You were made to build a blueprint. You were made to shift the atmosphere when you speak, to shake the ground when you move. But none of that happens if you keep standing still. This is your call to go all in. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Let your actions scream louder than your fears. Let your results silence every doubt. Let your grind prove every belief right that says you're meant for more. Because you are, you always have been. But now it's time to show it, to live it, to become it. Let the world feel the pressure of your decision. Let them watch as you transform pressure into power, pain into purpose, fear into fuel. You aren't just chasing a dream anymore. You're becoming the kind of person who delivers on dreams, who builds them brick by brick, with blood, sweat, and unshakable belief. You don't owe the world your silence, you owe it your greatness. So speak with action, move with conviction, lead with fire, because every second you choose to rise is a second the world gets better, stronger, braver, because you decided to be more. There's no turning back, there's only forward, there's only fire, there's only you, fully awake, fully committed, fully alive. And that version of you, that version wins. Every single time. You weren't given breath just to waste it on waiting for the perfect timing, waiting for the fear to fade, waiting for someone else to give you permission to start living like you were born to lead. But the truth is, the longer you wait, the louder your regrets will grow. Because nothing hurts more than knowing you could have and didn't. That you were right there, one decision away from change, from freedom, from becoming something unstoppable. But you chose comfort over courage. How long will you keep handing your future to hesitation? You can't beg the world to respect a version of you that you don't fight for. The way you show up when no one's clapping. The way you keep grinding when no one's watching. That's what defines you. That's where transformation begins. Not when it's easy, not when it's convenient, but when it's hard and heavy, and you still show up anyway. Because deep down, something in you knows this life isn't a rehearsal. This is it, right now, right here. You either take it or you lose it. There is no in between. And don't let anyone convince you that it's noble to shrink, that it's humble to hold back. That's not humility, that's fear wearing a disguise. Humility is owning your power without needing to dominate others. It's rising without apology. It's knowing your value and refusing to bury it under insecurity. Playing small doesn't serve the world. It starves it of your light. You were never meant to dim just to fit in. You were meant to disrupt, to ignite, to lift, to lead. But leadership doesn't start when you get a title. It starts the moment you decide that excuses no longer have a place in your life. It starts when you stop blaming your past and start building your future with everything you've got. The strength you're looking for isn't out there. It's been inside you all along, buried under years of silence, self-doubt, and distractions. Strip it all away. Get back to the core, the raw you, the relentless you, The version of you that refuses to settle for average because average never felt right in your soul. You know what's killing dreams faster than failure? Delay. The lie that tells you just a little longer, while life quietly passes you by. You keep thinking you have time, but the clock doesn't wait for clarity. It doesn't pause for fear. It keeps ticking. Every minute you spend hesitating is a minute you could have been evolving. The gap between who you are and who you could be doesn't close by waiting. It closes by moving, even if you don't feel ready. Especially when you don't feel ready, because the magic isn't in waiting to feel confident. It's in doing it anyway and letting confidence catch up.